up early, about 3 a.m., started reading some books on talk radio, stumbled into Anthony Cumia's autobiography. It's terrific. It's called Permanently Suspended: The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of Radio's Most Notorious Shock Jock. Obviously, that's a bit of an exaggeration there in the title. Here's some highlights from this 2018 book. Patrice O'Neill, the great black comic, once said that Anthony could access funny faster than anyone he'd ever met. And he talks very honestly about his life. There's no pretense. So compared to the gurus and the live streamers and the pundits that we've been decoding over the past few weeks, like, Anthony Cumia is fair dinkum. He's dinky die. He is straightforward. He doesn't pretend to be something that he's not. He doesn't pretend to be laying a tapestry of meaning over the universe. He doesn't make exaggerated claims for his galaxy brain and his revolutionary theories. He's refreshingly honest. And so he's also refreshingly honest about his love life. And he talks about how he's married, but he's got a girlfriend named Jennifer who was quite sexually adventurous. And the first time they had intercourse, poor Anthony Cumia came home to his wife and he had the smells of passion all over him. And he knew that if his wife saw him, she would smell that he'd just had sex. So he was driving a Baja Bug at the time, which had engine trouble. So he pours gasoline on myself, reaches underneath the car to get oil and grit all over me to mask my infidelity. I go home and I say, son of a gun, car just broke down. I finally got it started. Don't even get near me. I'm a mess. And went and jumped in the shower to wash off the gas, the oil, and the vagina. So pretty good stuff there. Pretty honest stuff from Anthony Cumia. Okay, a teacher in San Francisco is not very happy. So,
on everyone, this is Peterson with Sandy's. I just got punched in the fucking face right now by some guy that was pissing on the street. And I'm really fucking pissed off right now. I can't believe I live in a city where people just piss in the street and come punch you in the fucking face and get away with it. Guy just ran off. They're probably not gonna find him. I'm fucking fed up with this goddamn city. It's like, I can't just be outside and just running a fucking business without getting punched in the goddamn face. So I'm pissed off right now. I'm really fucking pissed off right now. I don't know. I just need to vent. I gotta figure out what to do, but
I wonder what type of person punched you in the face and ran off.
This is fucking bullshit. Like, it shouldn't be this way at all. Like, this isn't how
Was it a Biden voter, for example? Was it a member of a sacred minority group that you're not allowed to criticize?
city should be. I hope they find the fucking guy. Yeah, I'm fucking pissed off. So I'm sorry that I'm venting to y'all, but yeah, I don't know what to do. It's like, at what point is it too much where you just like can't be on the street and tell some guy to stop fucking pissing and get hit in the face? So, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated. I hope that something will come of this. Like I said, I hope they find the guy, and
strong.
I'm really mad right now. And
he's really, really mad right now. And you know what? He's going to come back here 1,000 times if he has to. Because that bloke, homeless bloke who was urinating in the street, well, when he looks up in the sky, he's going to see a broken down, bashed in, very angry and upset face like this, looking down at him. Now, should good Samaritans just give up? This is Gavin McInnes talking with Anthony
Add yourself
Cumia.
to the list of casualties, because they don't care. There's no reasoning with right. these people, so they'll just turn and beat you up, and that's exactly what they did.
Yes.
This dunce.
He's lucky he wasn't stabbed.
Oh, yeah.
But Conor McGregor, Tyson Fury, like, those guys might be able to take 2 of them.
Maybe.
They're zombies.
Yeah.
There's 8 of them. They just swarm you. There's no possible winning whatsoever.
And they don't have any line like, oh, well, we'll punch him, but won't kick him in the head.
Yeah, they're not
we'll
going
kick him in the head.
Right. Sainsbury rules.
Marcus of Queensberry rules. Yeah.
He's down. That's 1-on-1.
Yeah. They're not going to be like, well, I have a knife and I'd love to stab this guy, but I'm thinking about the consequences. And, you know, he is a human. And they don't think that way. You can't think that they think that way when you have this fantasy that you're going to help somebody. And then he's on the show, too. And he's like, I couldn't stand there. And he's like, it's not too bad. I watched an interview with him on one of the morning shows over there. And he's like, it's not that bad considering. And, you know, I just can't stand there and watch. Yeah, you can.
What were they doing? It was an old man and they were like shitting in his hair or something.
Light him on fire or something.
What is this? Putting mice down his shirt or some shit.
They were young thugs, like
Cutting off his eyelashes.
like the one Bernie gets,
Yes.
shot.
So the only way to do it is you travel in a pack of 12 guys.
Yeah.
You're in a suit and a briefcase. One of your buddies, all jiu-jitsu guys, mixed martial arts boxing, right? They're all monsters. One of them is an old lady with a babushka on.
Yeah.
She's got lipstick and sunglasses. The other is like a Chinese guy who's just like minding his own business with his newspaper, and you're scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
So when shit goes down, the babushka comes off, everyone comes to life. That's
everyone-
the only way, and even then,
Yeah.
the odds are pretty high. You're going to get fucking stabbed in a weird armpit spot.
Right.
It goes into your heart.
It's
And
like,
you die.
oh, he got stabbed. That was it. He collapsed and died right there. Yeah. Why bother? The staff on that morning show over there at Fox, it's like, this was 1 a.m. or something. He goes, where were the parents? And that got a little too close to maybe specifying the race of this group of kids at 1 a.m. So the weather guy goes, well, who knows? Maybe they were working. They need extra money for the house. I swear he said that. I swear he said this.
0% chance.
0.0.
Well, she was working at the restaurant.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then what I do at the flour mill is I take the shift from 12 to 8.
Yeah.
It's 7% more per
overnight.
hour because it's on the overnight. No one wants the overnight.
Right.
But I worry about my kids.
And the kids are out at 1 a.m. beating white people up because the parents have such a work ethic to take care of the kids. Like, if there was a family that was working overnight to support the kids, those kids would be chipping in. They'd be
Oh
home
my God.
asleep.
They'd be going to church.
Right.
They'd be on the basketball team.
But that's not what it is. The parent, by the way, whether it's the mother or the grandmother, it doesn't give a shit what these kids do at 1 a.m. That's why they're out. Not because the parents were working.
Father doesn't. First of all, they're implying that the people are white. They're black. We've seen the perps. They're all black.
They're black.
Father doesn't exist. I would bet my life on it.
Of course not.
The mother might be around. It's probably the grandmother.
Grandmother.
And she doesn't give a flying fuck. Even if you showed her the footage
Yeah.
of this beating, she'd be like, so what's this about? What do you want to do?
I have trouble with this child all the time, and I
He's
understand.
got a spirit in him. He got a fire in him.
Yeah.
He got a fire in him when he got mad.
Right. But he's a good boy. I mean, yeah, he's a good boy, isn't
He could have been something. If it wasn't for the system,
Right.
he could have been a scientist.
Right, a scientist. But instead, he's punching this dork weather guy in the fucking face.
Oh man, those are some hard but fair truths. All right, this is
But
Fox
the backdrop
News.
going on with the controversy. They're saying that he's a big-time racist because this was at a courthouse where there was a lynching in 1927. The production company who made the video said, hey, look, there's been so many things shot here. Hannah Montana, Mario Lopez movie. So why the controversy now?
I think it's interesting because it's so revealing, and it doesn't reveal anything about Jason Aldean or the people who like his music. It's revealing about the people and the people in the media and in places like New York or D.C. who have this extreme prejudice about small towns and people who live in small towns. And these are people who and another time where this sort of came about was when with Donald Trump's "Make America Great Again" slogan. All these people thought that was racist, and it's like if you think that what was great about America was that it was racist, you have a problem. You have a problem. The rest of us don't have a problem. But this whole notion of living in a small town, the idea that you have personal responsibility to your neighbors, the idea that you would never step over a body in a small town, you do it every time you walk out of the building here in New York City, the idea that you don't have people leaning up against a wall shooting drugs into their veins and people just walk by and ignore it, that's what makes it a small town. And that's what I think this song is talking about. And that's why you don't see a lot of the ills in a small town that you see in a place like New York City.
Well, and Joey, let's listen to Jason Aldean. This is what he said. He was addressing his critics. Let's take a listen.
Hey, here's the thing. Here's one thing I feel. I feel like everybody's entitled to their opinion. You can think something all you want to. It doesn't mean it's true.
I mean, that's true. Joey, to Charlie's point, you've got this music video. It shows you the summer of riots, all these things that are happening in American cities, and you contrast that with the patriotic images of soldiers and farmers and families in small towns. I mean, is that where the criticism is coming from, of exposing that?
No, this is all about controlling a narrative. So they're not silencing him. You can go listen to the song anytime you want to. They're telling you what the song means by interpreting the nuance of it. And that's what's really scary. These are the lyrics. Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. He says, cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. These are all things, the flag obviously protected by the First Amendment, but all of these things are real true instances that we've reported on here on this channel over the last year, 2 years, 3 years. The videos he uses are real true things that happen, and he's espousing the view of millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Americans that say, don't bring that here. Don't think that we're going to get you out with cashless bail. Don't think that we're going to tell you, oh, you're poor victim, you were mistreated, you were raised poor, so you can treat us that way. That's not the position, the posture, or the belief of people in small towns, and they are scared to death that Americans might understand that Americans might agree with that.
Well, and the media outrage, I mean, it just keeps.
Okay, much better content on Gavin McInnes here, Anthony Cumia, compared to Fox News. At how to resist hotties after getting famous. Good question.
When you finally hit radio.
73.
73
years young.
He's 96 now.
Yeah, no, I was 30, 35. Yeah,
That's old.
Mid-30s. Yeah, before that, it was all just construction work and bands. But yeah, I'll try this. Whatever. See what happens.
Was the second part more fun? Construction and bands can be pretty fun.
Oh, it was fun. It was fucking fun.
There's a lot of
Crazy
coke
fun.
and shit with construction.
Yeah.
bands.
You know what was weird? I had no responsibility in the early days. Once I got into radio, I had certain responsibilities. I had to,
Right, you can't be late.
couldn't be late.
Didn't you have a jet ski with the construction? And
Oh, yeah,
bands
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
So yeah,
I would
you're,
just-
on weekends you go meow, 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 up and down the Long
Weekends,
Island.
weekdays, when I was supposed to be at work, I would do shit like that. Yeah, I didn't give a fuck. And then, when I got into the radio thing, it was like, oh, I have to do, but it was so fun. I didn't give a shit.
You got to be there at 6 a.m. So
Well, no, I was doing afternoon drive then, so I had to
okay.
be there. It was 3 to 7, and it was relatively close to where I was living in Massachusetts. So I was in Ashland, and it was somewhere kind of close, so it didn't really matter. It wasn't like I had a big commute into the city or anything. And then doing it was fun as fuck. It was great, and the element of fame that started coming in, and we were going to concerts and signing autographs, taking pictures, and girls, and fucking meeting Aerosmith and introing bands on stage at Mamakin and all the bars by Fenway on Lansdowne Street. It was a fucking blast. The fucked up thing was though, like I was in my mid 30s. Now a lot of these people were in their 20s. The fans were in their late teens, early 20s. Was like the key demo of AAF, alt rock at the time. It was fucking huge. And the program director and general manager like just both, and it was both of us because Opie was only 2 years younger than me. They're like, just keep your age. Don't talk about your age, and Anthony, don't mention you're married or anything. I'm like, I could do that, believe me. Fucking take this ring and fucking
Which you did.
cap in the gap with my wedding ring. Fuck that, which I did, yeah. And yeah, but that just started like there was no way my marriage would last through that. I think she actually figured if we did a threesome, maybe I'd stay a little longer.
that's what I always figured. Yeah, it was.
Although the first one was, like I said, it was before I had any money or fame or anything. But the second one, that was when it was like I had so many fucking opportunities. It was crazy. In Boston, it was really nuts. We'd had a steady gig at Club Cadillac every Wednesday night. We'd go there. And I made friends with all the Kahlua girls. They were the girls that would go around Kahlua drinks to everyone and wear the little fucking dresses with Kahlua on it and shit. Promotion girls. And they were fucking, all of them were beautiful. And we'd hang out and drink and shit. And they're like, oh, you want to hang out? We're gonna go skinny dipping in the lake and shit. They say shit like that. And I'm like, I gotta go home.
Well, being famous is great if you're single or you're cheating.
Yeah.
And girls are involved. Being famous when dudes are involved is not good.
You are a dude-involved famous guy.
Yeah. Well, so are you.
Yeah. No, I know now.
Yeah.
I used to be somebody. When I had Rage Against the Machine tickets, believe me, I was a popular dude.
Right, but your fans were 50-50 male-female.
No, not even 50. They were mostly dudes.
Yeah.
Mostly dudes.
Yeah, we both had the same problem.
Yeah. But the girls at the time, because we were, all those bands, like we were playing we went, because we had a promotion at a Bush concert once at the Worcester Centrum.
The woohoo guys.
Bush was, Bush was Swallow. Was that Bush?
Everything's Zen.
Everything's Zen. Everything's Zen. I don't think so.
Glycerine.
He was married to Gwen Stefani for a little while. He was, what the fuck was his name? Gavin Rossdale. Yeah, he was a Tiger Beat sensation. Girls fucking, I swear to you, when he walked out, it was a hiss, a screaming sound that made your ears hurt from girls just yelling for this motherfucker.
Gavin
Crazy.
Rossdale.
Gavin Rossdale.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker, the girls that would come to these shows were beautiful. And they wanted to, we were promoting the
Can't
show.
fuck Gavin, but I could fuck the
Would they
guy
have?
who announced the show.
Yeah.
That's something.
Oh, and like, I'm not going to say that perhaps I could work out where you can meet Gavin,
Oh, right.
which you couldn't. But,
Yeah, like with Motley Crue, they'd have to suck off the roadies and everything.
right, work their way up the hierarchy.
And then you suck off like 4 roadies.
Yeah.
You're like turgid with cum. You're going to undo your top button. And you finally get to Motley Crue and they're like, you get Mick Mars.
Oh, what happened?
Fuck.
Or you suck off 4 roadies and they go, well, they're right through that door, and you open it and you're outside.
Oh man, some good stuff here. Let me. pull
It's
up
weird
what's-
too,
what's
because
the
I'm
next
sure you were
one.
the same way. But when I was a kid, from like 14 to 34, I was collecting records, reading the back, like knowing all the labels. Everything was
Yeah.
perfectly alphabetized, totally obsessively collecting. I had my records, my CDs, cassettes. Everything was in different things. If anyone touched anything, I'd fucking have a heart attack. And of course, when girls come over, they're just like,
Oh, they want to paw through it.
putting a fucking card, a fucking sleeve back in the shelf without the record in it.
Oh, wait.
And it's just somewhere randomly. It's not even out. Well, I'm never going to find that again. You just threw that into the abyss.
Oh, no.
Now, you go to their house and they have like 6 records on top of each other.
Yeah, not in a sleeve or anything.
No, just on the turntable.
Making the what sound?
Or they just have like a fucking cylinder of CDs.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what have you done? And then one day, you're just like, shh. And music, I have zero interest.
Yeah, I really don't care. I enjoy some obviously older music that
Sure, but like, would you put
nostalgia
on
inducing?
The Who? Like, would you put it on? Do you even have a CD player at home or an anything player?
No.
Yeah.
I'm all
Do you have
digital.
like Apple Music?
Yeah, I'm all digital.
Would you put on like Apple Music, The Who? Play.
If I was on a plane,
Maybe you would listen to music on a plane. If I watch a movie, on a plane.
only if I was going to sleep. I will sleep with fucking music on And it could be, you know, I have music on my phone. It's a lot of, you know, Alice in Chains and
the Chains, like Chains, Peppers and Range.
Yeah, another one of those chains. Jesus Mary Chain, Jesus Jones, Jesus.
Everything but the Boys Against Girls to Men Without Hats.
Yeah, Men Without Hats. I do have a lot of like 80s and 90s.
I started listening to a lot more music when I walk. So I used to always listen to Audible books and sometimes podcasts when I walk. Now I'm really enjoying listening to music because when I listen to music, I get to choose my mood, right? So. And I never want to be sad. So I just want to be happy or I want to feel close to God. And so music is just a tremendous boon.
Right, but
I just lost interest.
I don't listen to it anymore at all. And when I do listen to it, I get these earworms that are borderline, have to go to Bellevue.
They don't go away.
Well, there's a lot of great music. I don't understand how you can get bored with music, but let's get back to the book here by Anthony Cumia. Talked about girls would call up when he was on with OP on Boston Drive Time Radio. Girls would come down to the studio. We did something called the Blue Tarp Cabaret. We'd put out a blue tarp and the girls would get completely naked and we'd throw maple syrup on them. So you've got these disgustingly sticky girls who are hot. They'd just be smashing each other with cakes and assorted pastries. We'd get the food products from local bakeries and advertise these bakeries like a real plug. These cakes were supplied by Mom and Pop's Pastries. We never said we were married or had girlfriends, which ticked off my wife terribly. I didn't want to be a married guy on a young rock station, so whenever we went out to do these station appearances, there were constantly girls around us. The program director, Dave Douglas, was always a bug up our ass. He once said, you know what you should do? Take a picture who you envision as an audience member. Who do you picture? Find a magazine with a picture of someone who resembles this person you have in your mind. Put that picture in front of you on your mixing board so that when you're talking into the mic, you get an image of who you're talking to. So we went on the air, started talking about this meeting with the program director, how what he said was so ludicrous and idiotic. Then we found a swank magazine, cut out pictures of women squatting, and we posted the pictures. Here's how we picture our audience, a bunch of filthy vaginas. We knew how to stretch stuff out where we could and just barely squeak past FCC, meaning Federal Communications Commission rules. We'd use the first letter of curse words. I'd F her in the A and wipe my D on her curtains. One day on April Fool's, they made up that the mayor had been killed. Just getting this news, and the passenger in the mayor's car, who was also killed, was a young Haitian boy. We wanted to lead up to the fact that the mayor had been having sex in the car with this young Haitian boy while driving around, and the car had spun out of control. That was their April Fool's. I didn't want to go home to my wife. We would drink and get hammered. All right, and all the other blokes, they could bring girls up to the studio, no supervision. All right, the workplace here at this Boston radio station was like a frat house with constant drinking, smoking, drugs, and sex. I used to get laid on my desk in my office. Penthouse did a big article and photo shoot with us, which was a dream come true. I'd been jerking off to that magazine my whole life. Our marriage lasted 9 years. The only thing that kept me in it that long was that I found out early in the first year of my marriage that my wife was part lesbian, wanted to do threesomes with hot chicks. Then, circa 2002, Howard Stern had a particular family situation of very private nature. So Howard Stern at this time, 2000, 2001, 2002, was trying to put out the image that he was a happily married family man, but he wasn't quite so happily married. We alluded to his problems on the air in a very ambiguous way, and it got back to him. He was quite upset. And so they got hauled in by Mel Karmazin. Then they would have people call in and report on live sex acts at famous sites in New York. He had a point system with certain bonuses. If the guy stuck his up her, the team was awarded a 2-point conversion. The harder the location, the higher the point value. Central Park had a lower point value because it was easier to find a place to bang in than a church, which had the highest point value. We took calls during the contest. We got one from chaperone Paul Mercurio. Within a second, he's telling us, we're here at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and he's doing a 2-point conversion. Knew that for listeners to hear he was effing her in the A at St. Patrick's Cathedral was great. Really, Paul, what's going on? Well, we're here by the front door, and he's pumping her really hard. Oh, wait, there's someone coming over to us. Now, again, we could have said run, but we choose to get the play-by-play asking who's coming over. We just wanted that dialogue between whoever was coming over and Paul, who was going to attempt to justify this couple having anal sex by the front door of the most highly regarded religious landmark in the United States. It was one of the security guards from the cathedral. They were now listening to the back and forth between Paul and the security guard. Security guard's like, what's going on here? Why are you two pulling up your pants? Oh, don't worry, it's just a radio contest. So I kept it going with the security guard until the police came. Once the police came, all bets were off. All right, Paul got handcuffed. They arrested Paul and the couple, who sadly didn't win the contest with their overall scores. So in the news. Virginia couple was arraigned after they were arrested for allegedly having sex in a vestibule of St. Patrick's Cathedral while parishioners worshipped nearby. Loretta Lynn Harper, 35, of Alexandria, her boyfriend Brian Florence, 37, were charged with obscenity in the 3rd degree and public lewdness. And Anthony Cumia writes later on in this book, looking back, if there was ever an addiction that Opie and I had shared, it was that need to constantly top ourselves and make our show the most talked about. We wanted our ratings to always go up, for our listeners to be rewarded daily with our insanity. It's inevitable we were going to get fired. The thread finally broke and the piano crushed us after the St. Patrick's Cathedral incident. Now they got paid out on their three-year contract, so for 2 years they couldn't work in radio. Now, the station tried to bring David Lee Roth as a radio host, and he's like one of the worst people ever in radio. He would do nonstop rambling about 18 different topics at a time and then throw in a bozzy bop. OP is still in trouble with people to this day because of what he did to one homeless guy, Andrew, on the air. Andrew offered us a piece of cake. OP just stomped on it with his foot. Poor guy was sitting there and saying, I paid for that cake. I earned that cake. OP didn't care as long as it was good radio. And one of our funniest bits was with the comic Patrice O'Neill. We called it N-word versus Nazi. So at this time, actor Danny Glover had made his plight known publicly that he couldn't get a cab in New York City because he was African-American. So Patrice was on the show we were talking about, and he said, yeah, nobody wants to pick up an N-word. I was like, hey, I have a Nazi helmet. I'll put it on. You stand upstream from me. We'll both try to hail a cab to see if the cab driver picks up an N-word or a Nazi. So the first cab blatantly passes by Patrice, stops for me. Second cab stops for Patrice. The third cab hedges his bets, goes between us. The next one goes for the Nazi. So Nazis won over the African-American. Talked about their fans. We had passionate fans who were really into it. They knew how we treated each other on the show, comics constantly busting each other's balls. We brought the audience into what we were doing. They felt like they were part of the show. And the negative to this was that they felt they were also part of the stand-up show. They felt entitled to heckle the comics unmercifully, which sometimes made the shows a nightmare. You had to take the bad with the good. So Philly's own comic Dom Irira was booed off the stage. It was brutal. He just disappeared. He was shell-shocked. Next up was Bill Burr. So there's a digital clock facing Bill Burr that would count down their time on stage. And so this is Bill Burr in Philadelphia, like just giving it straight back at the Philly fans. It's one of the most incredible rants ever, just spontaneously developed. Okay.
You can all suck my dick. City of brotherly love, you bunch of fucking cocks. Just walking around again. Fucking goddamn losers. 52 fucking hours into a show. The fuck am I gonna do at this point? You people are on goddamn acid. Fucking be up here talking about Hitler. That ain't gonna work. What do you want me to talk about? Hey, throw out some topics. Let's talk about heart disease. Something you're all gonna fucking die of, and I'm gonna laugh at your fucking funerals. It's gonna be great. You're all gonna get fucking cancer, which is fantastic because all your fucking heads are shaved anyways. No one's even gonna notice. You're gonna get fired for coming to work too late because they're not gonna notice that you have fucking bone marrow cancer. The only thing that's gonna give it away is me laughing at you in the fucking background. You fucking bunch of losers with your fucking cell phone pictures. Fucking suck a dick. Fucking assholes. 11 more minutes of this. I hope you all get in your Ford Focuses and fucking drive off the side of that faggot-ass Ben Franklin Bridge. You fucking one-bridge-having piece of shit city that no one gives a fuck about. The terrorists will never bomb you people because you're fucking worthless and no one cares about you. You are this high above New Orleans. No one gives a shit. FEMA would never show up for you fucking assholes. I hope your mother has herpes in the center of her asshole and you go home tonight, you lick it, you get it on your tongue, and some other horrific shit happens that involves cancer. To all of you, 11 minutes left. 11 minutes. I hope somebody takes a fucking beer stein and just slaps you on the back of your zit-infested fucking shoulders and your awful man-tit tank tops. I hope that happens to you. I hope the glass fucking digs into your fucking shoulder blade. And then I see you afterwards. Hey, how's it going? You enjoy great. And I grabbed you by the fucking hair, but you don't have any. Did it really have to come to this, people? Did it really have to come to it? I really hope all of you run into all those black people that you love so much here in Camden. I really hope that happens. I hope there's a line of all of you guys getting fucking carjacked and they take out their big black dicks and they just shove them right in your fucking mouths, each and every one of you, and somehow they just keep repeatedly coming right in your fucking eyeballs until it builds up so much that your eyes, they fucking crust over. You can't see shit. And somehow there's another dick in there for you to suck. 10 minutes left. This is what you want. This is what you want. It's a fucking bunch of fucking losers. Fucking Rocky is your hero. The whole pride of your city is built around a fucking guy who doesn't even exist. You got fucking Joe Frazier is from there, but he's black, so you can't fucking deal with him. So you make a fucking statue for some 3-foot fucking Italian, you stupid Philly cheese eating fucking jackasses. I hope that cheese melts your fucking faces off. All of you collectively suck a fucking dick. A fucking booby, 9 hours into a fucking show. Look at you with your fucking Donovan McNabb shirt. I hope he snaps both his fucking ankles in the first goddamn game. I hope you go 0 in fucking 16. I said suck a dick. 8 minutes left. 8 fucking minutes left. The Flyers, they even fucking exist anymore? A bunch of goddamn pansies haven't won shit since fucking Gerald.
Okay, so here's Bill Burr talking about his Philly rant.
Hope the fucking Eagles never win a Super Bowl. 0 in fucking 16.
Okay, that's just more. Let's see what else we got here.
I saw a dude, and this was, you know, you always hear about this as a policy, but you don't expect to hear it from a human being. Yeah. And he was like, he's a pilot, and he was our age, white hair, and he goes, if I had to give advice to people out there,
I saw this.
I would say, you need to hire less white males. Yep. No, white people, especially males.
Do we have
people
that
like me?
I think we do.
We're dead set in our ways.
Yesterday or today.
And if you want to talk about diversity and what can help, what can help us in the Air Force, then the one thing we got to do is get away from.
Because we're all the same.
White males.
Because he goes,
they're the worst.
We're all the same. We think the same way. We do, and we need diversity. It's like, why would you need to think differently? You think about flying a fucking plane, and you know what to do in the case of an emergency or no emergency, or just flying the fucking.
Isn't it a very, I've never.
Why do you want something different?
Isn't it a very uncreative thing? I don't want to disparage airline pilots, but I know when there's a problem, you got to come up with something crazy.
And you got to
go upside down, like,
like flight or something.
Do something crazy. But generally, you want
a very routine flight.
A happens
very monotonous.
To B.
Very monotonous.
Like I want you to enjoy monotony.
Yes. Everyone wants monotony on their flight.
Yeah, monotony is ideal.
Crew.
Now, I know the talent of being a pilot is to be prepared for non-monotony.
Yeah, it's what you do in that moment that isn't.
And that's great.
Normal. Yeah, like Sully, we've said that, of course. 2 engines. Birds hit 2 of your engines, knock out both of your engines on takeoff, one of the most vulnerable times in a flight.
Right.
And he looked around and said, you know, I could try to make it to this airport, Teterboro, go back to LaGuardia. And he's like, nope. The river. I got to land on the river. Now, he could have tried to make it back to LaGuardia and wiped out so many fucking apartments in Queens or go to fucking Teterboro and destroy Hoboken. But the motherfucker went the river. That's the most logical, and did it, and everyone walked out of there alive.
0 people died.
And you know what? That motherfucker probably for his entire career never had to do anything out of the ordinary. All right, here's our altitude, here's our heading, and you get there. All right, here we landed. All right, everyone, hey, nice. Thank you for choosing us. Do you have that clip? Yeah, watch this.
And
this douchebag.
You know, the only really guidance I'd put out there for them to consider is stop hiring middle-aged white people, especially dudes that are pilots, because honestly, we all think alike.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. You want that?
And if we're going to be preaching diversity and being inclusive, and for crying out loud, let's back it up with let's make the rhetoric meet the reality.
What a dumb thing to say. Everything's air travel up until very recently has been the safest fucking thing, especially in the United States, the safest way to travel out of any travel. And it's because of the routine, the regiment, the whole, we want people thinking the same. You want people following protocols and rules and checklists and all the shit that makes air travel safe. And then why? For no reason. But political correctness and pandering and posturing, you got to throw diversity in? Why? Does he honestly think that'll make it better? We're at the greatest
We've already seen it get unbetter.
Unbetter by adding diversity to ground crews.
Flight in Nepal.
Right.
We keep seeing this. I don't understand, by the way, if white male pilots became the norm, which they are, and then Irish male pilots became the norm, and we kept having a drinking thing. And there was a couple crashes where we did the blood alcohol level on the white male Irish pilot. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. That was 1 point.
Yeah.
And then you had these super sober, astute, incredibly talented black female pilots.
There you go.
Who were dying. Get in the game.
Only we could get in.
They kept doing all the simulations and just like, pew,
perfect.
Pew, 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 upside down. Pew.
Oh.
Okay. I'm open to that if that's the case. It's not the fucking case.
Not the case. There is an education, a commitment, a discipline. There's so many things that have to go into someone being a successful pilot, aside from just, here's what you do to take off. Here's how you fly. Here's how you land. There is a persona of a pilot. There's a personality.
Ex-military.
It's very disciplined. Your life has to be disciplined. That's why you see these motherfuckers walking around the airport. They are dressed to the nines in that uniform.
Nice
Everything's
white mustache.
You've never seen them with a bad haircut. Their fucking hair is done. Like, it's part of an image and a discipline that they need to have. Yes. You can't just throw people in that have gone through a course on how a plane flies. And this douchebag thinks it would make things better to bring people in, not based on that, but based on just, let's bring some different people in.
Guaranteed, he's divorced. He's got a 29-year-old new girlfriend, and he wants to get on the map.
Oh, he's impressing her with his...
he wants to get invited to dinner parties.
Tolerance. Yes.
I should probably tell the folks at home that I've been traveling with Anthony quite a bit, and we've been on the same flights.
Yes.
We both do the same thing. We hear towards the cabin, and then one of us will go, Sully? Sully. Sully. We'll see a white mustache and just be like, Sully.
White mustache, you see a little gray hair at the back of the hat, and you're like, there you go. I'm good. I feel great.
I can relax.
I can relax, enjoy my beverage.
Lizzo is not driving this fucking plane.
And I don't want her to. And I do a bit about it on stage, the whole idea that Biden talks about, and his administration talks about, how it's the most diverse administration. We've been hearing for over 2 years now with him that the administration has more of the first this and the first that. And I was like, who's flying Air Force One? Let's look into that.
Leslie Jones.
Yeah, she's up there. It's exactly what this guy said they don't need. Yeah. Every Air Force One pilot, everyone. I looked. Dude, I don't just spout this shit.
Right.
I looked and researched Air Force One pilots since the first Air Force One. And by gum, they've all been middle-aged white guys. Middle-aged white guys.
Well, I remember that with Y2K. The president of China back in, was it 2000? Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I want the head of transportation to be in the air at 11:59
Brilliant.
at midnight.
Right.
So let's see how authentic this
Here's how confident you are.
Y2K shit is.
That's
and he was,
brilliant.
Believe it or not, he did some overtime to make quadruple sure.
We're going to make sure
that plane works.
Yeah, that at least the air traffic shit is going to work.
At least the plane I'm on.
But it's, if you're so into just diversity for the sake of diversity, then why hasn't Air Force One ever been piloted by a woman of color? They have to be just as qualified. No one's stopping them anymore. All he has to do is say, I want my pilot to be a woman of color.
I bet they would say no.
You're out of your fucking mind.
I want Leslie Jones, or someone who looks like her.
Leslie Jones,
D.L. Hughley, which is what she looks like now. I want
D.L. Ugly.
D.L. Ugly piloting my plane. They'd be like, okay.
Like, dude, we don't care
if you get on Air Force One.
You know how much this plane costs?
And he'd see Sully, and he'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
Hey, middle-aged white guy.
I made it very clear, and they're like, oh, sir, we're still working on it. It's
yeah.
next flight, ideally, next flight. Obviously, there's a lot of paperwork, and we have to make sure we screen.
Why isn't it? Why isn't that? If diversity is great, and this guy's saying, enough white men, middle-aged white men, why isn't Air Force One piloted by, if they're just as capable, maybe in some instances even more, why the fuck wouldn't you put them behind the controls? Oh.
No, thanks. There he is.
Here are our pilots.
There's the
Here
Leslie
are your
Jones behind Air Force
pilots.
One.
Here are all your Air Force One pilots. This is all of them. Dude, these are your guys.
They all look exactly the same.
Jiminy Cricket. Oh, no. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, here. This guy's in a blimp, for fuck's sake.
Where are the hidden figures?
How long ago this was. Yeah, where are the hidden figures to fucking fly? What a load of shit.
Okay, some great points there by Anthony Cumia and Gavin McInnes. All right, this is what I fear turning into.
Oh, you want to be different so bad? You want to be different so bad? No. I would much rather fit in and be liked. But there's something wrong with me psychologically.
Why would anyone think that there was something wrong with that good man? Okay, let me get my act together here. Finish off. I'm about halfway through the Anthony Cumia book. So what else did I read very early this morning? Radio, Vox Populi. Vox Populi meaning the voice of the people. Talk radio from the Romantic to the Anglo-Saxon. So it was about talk radio in the United States and contrasting that with talk radio in Italy. So it talks about the movie and TV star. He's distant from the people because he is a star, but the star radio talk show host perfectly embodies supposedly the thinking of the man on the street. Personalities apparently appeal to listeners more than music. And then this one critic of talk radio says there's something absolutely perverse for lonely misfits and amateur information distorters waiting on hold for an hour or more just for the opportunity to be abused by a loudmouth host, a host often equipped with no discernible credentials other than a fast-paced patter. Talk radio is a carnival. It's an amusement show. It is a fancy parade as a fact. The uninformed opinion is championed as thoughtful commentary. Groundless innuendo gets the same respect as investigative journalism. Talk radio drones as a noisy waste of time. Just broadcast a bunch of malcontents yelling at each other or a bunch of blowhards impressing each other. The medium is not the message. Problem with most talk radio and its technological variants is the literal message. Demagogic slurs and lies designed not to influence policy, but to gain audience share and hence fame and fortune. I think that's pretty fair critique. So this bloke with experience in top-level talk radio says, we consider callers disposable foils for our acts. We're convinced there will always be another caller, and there always was. So the key to success in talk radio is boosting ratings. Serious discussion of serious topics is anathema to popularity. Ludicrous discussions attract a wide spectrum of listeners, especially those who are killing time by listening to the radio. So why do people listen to talk radio? Because the human voice has tremendous power, charisma. People like to hear a voice. An emphatic, funny voice gets people to listen. The voice is a friend. People come on by to hang out. For almost all of American talk shows on commercial radio stations, the host first acts as the picador and the caller is a confused bull. Quickly, the host morphs into a matador, so the picador, I would assume, brings the bull out. Then the host morphs into a matador and hangs up the phone that serves as the coup de grace swordplay. Points of view aren't the only drivers that cause the frenetic pace and tone of most commercial talk radio in the States. Right, with all the commercials. So you can have stations that play up to, at least in the 80s, they would play up to 26 minutes of commercials an hour. Right, so the host must desperately need the audience to stay through the commercials. So you must constantly feed the audio clickbait. The burden is always to keep things lively, controversial, engaged, outrageous, tabloid, and funny. Hysterically funny or hysterically outrageous like Howard Stern. Callers are usually picked for their nut factor. Anyone who's going to subject themselves to potential host abuse after waiting on hold for an hour is probably suspect. Talk radio, as practiced by the right wing, according to Al Franken, is the monetization of resentment. From the listener's point of view, the talk radio host is a credible relational partner who puts them in a privileged position to enact uncertainty reduction processes. That's what we're doing here on this show, right? We're enacting uncertainty reduction processes. The positive relationship between the creation of an intimate relation with a subject and that subject's ability to trigger mechanisms of self-categorization and identification, right? Which reduces uncertainty regarding your own identity and your own views through identification with a group and a host, right? That's what goes on in live streams and in talk radio. So I love that. What we're doing here It's engaging in uncertainty reduction process, right? We are able to self-categorize and identify. Now, what do we do with the vast information overload that many of us feel, right? We need that information filtered, and we need to withdraw from that flood of information. And it's helpful to have a particular relationship with a host or a guru who can offer information and viewpoints modeled on the community of which the listener fits in. So in the 1980s, ABC Radio did an enormous amount of research, mid-1980s, and they showed that there was an opening for what it termed non-guested confrontation talk radio. And they recruited a Sacramento, California radio host to play the lead role, Rush Limbaugh. Like that, non-guested confrontation talk radio. So this is what it means. The show centers around the host and his views with few or no interviews. Instead of confronting an actual person who can argue back, the host plays a soundbite from the targeted person and attacks their recorded point of view. That leaves no opportunity for the opponent to respond, so the host is going to always win the argument. So talks about the 3 levels of AM right-wing talk radio. The top tier was headlined by Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and Michael Savage. Second tier had lesser-known hosts on less powerful stations. The third tier was mostly comprised of quasi-Christian stations owned by Salem Media. So from Italy, we get the insight: who commands the story is not the voice, it is the ear. What drives people's interest is not so much the narrator, but the ability of the story to enter the intimacy of the listener's life and turn into personal history. Italians never entertained a particularly intense relationship with radio, right? TV was much more invasive, powerful, and seductive. Radio is the most personal form of mainstream media. Talk radio is its most personal subset. No host becomes popular by being the most well-spoken, the most politically astute, or the most scholarly, right? There's no money in being right. The money is in being interesting, right? The common trait found in all successful talk radio hosts is a host with a personality that makes the show desirable to consume. So from an objective perspective, one could hardly imagine a better fit for talk radio than former New York Governor Mario Cuomo, who was a spellbinding orator and a riveting interview guest. But at the press conference heralding his new talk radio show, he was asked about his goals, and he listed his number one goal was to educate. The show lasted a year. Right, the best answer to that question is to conduct a show in a way that draws people in to hear the host's views and the views of others in a compelling and entertaining fashion. Right, Rush Limbaugh succeeded because he presented content in an upbeat mood, an appreciation of humor, and he had the showman's gift. You don't need to know anything to work as a talk radio host. The enterprise is entirely based on engaging entertainment, peppered with factoids and truthiness, and driven by emotionally charged hype. It's a great caffeine-driven formula that keeps the listeners tuned in and flipped out. So Anthony Cumia is a nice change from the pundits and gurus we've been listening to. So what are some of the traits of the secular guru?
It struck me. We've never talked about this, Chris, but you know, you just reminded me that actually a lot of big advances in like genuine intellectual advances do involve like a linking together of somewhat disparate fields. So, you know, electromagnetism, unification, understanding that electricity and magnetism were 2 sides of the same coin. You know, and a guy called James Clerk Maxwell figured that out. And so this does happen from time to time. So I think the underlying theme of these facets in the barometer is that these are false versions of the real thing. Like the real thing is hard to come by, happens extremely rarely. Someone like Maxwell is operating within like a well-established paradigm and is often getting help from colleagues and is communicating and writing with colleagues, all of whom, or most of whom, usually very quickly recognize what they've achieved when they achieve it. This is very different from how gurus operate and what
there tends to be an output as well, right? Which is not just long-form podcasts. That's a distinction as well. But okay, so the next characteristic is anti-establishment sentiment. Now, again, you'll find this in a lot of different areas, but you will find it in an extreme version in most of the secular gurus that we look like. And this is not just saying that institutions have flaws and that, you know, you shouldn't just trust everything that you hear on the news or from politicians. It's that the mainstream is almost entirely corrupted, always wrong. It can't deal with the real issues. Institutions are lying to us. And when the mainstream is right, it's right for the wrong reason. So maybe climate change is happening, but it's not for the reason that climate scientists say. And a lot of this is to set up the gurus, the secular gurus, as an alternative source of epistemic authority, an alternative source of knowledge. And you can see this explicitly from the fact that they often set out to establish alternative institutions, usually ones that orbit around them, like Jordan Peterson creating the Jordan Peterson Academy.
Or Dennis Prager creating Prager University. And Laponius makes a great point. Look at this. This morning, 40 knew nothing about Anthony Cumia. Here he is a few hours later, decoding the man. Absolute genius. And I assure you, I have not spent any time since 7 a.m. and pretty much the start of this show learning anything more about Anthony Cumia. So this is very much a decoding on the fly. But Anthony Cumia, very nice change from these overblown, caricature, self-obsessed, self-important gurus and pundits. Right here is the famous N-word versus Nazi challenge.
All right, there's a cab. He's confused. He's stopped. He has passed. He has passed?
Oh, Nazi! Nazi!
Why didn't you pick up the African gentleman?
I stopped. You see me? I stopped. You didn't stop.
You stopped to pick up the African gentleman, but then you see that I'm a Nazi. You didn't stop for the Nazi.
Nazi over a nigger. I stop, and you see me stopping, right? I stop, and I see maybe you don't want to chose the Nazi, brother.
You chose Nazi over nigger.
You chose the Nazi, brother. Wow! Come on, brother! You don't pick up a fucking Nazi!
Okay, so who would be more likely to commit a crime against you or to be an obnoxious passenger? Who'd be more likely to be law-abiding? Who'd be more likely to tip you? Right? A National Socialist or an African American? Just asking questions.
All right, here's the cab. He's slowing down. And he has picked up Patrice.
Yeah.
Damn it. Talk to the brother.
I thought he was
going to
pass
him.
Thanks for stopping, man. Appreciate that. Listen, there's a Nazi that needs a cab right there. You gonna picking up. No picking up Nazi.
All right.
Two brothers,
We're tied.
Two black guys.
All right, we're tied. Schwoogie 1, Nazi 1. Got a couple of cabs coming up. Oh, here comes one. All right, here comes one. Let's see what happens. And oh, man, now it's a runaway. Now, well, the cab is kind of in the middle. Ask the cabbie who he wants to pick up.
Doing a Roman.
He doesn't know what to do. Wait, now he's pushing toward Anthony. Who do you want to pick up, sir?
Whoever comes you to push the door.
Would you want to pick up someone doing a Roman, a white guy doing a Roman, or an African American?
Yeah.
I need the cab. Man.
Is it the nigger or the Nazi?
Whoever comes first,
Whoever comes first. You kind of hedged your bet. Nah, Let me tell you something. This gentleman hedged his bet and pulled right between both of us. What is that, a tie? And then he kind of... All right. Cabbie's coming up. He's another one that's kind of in the middle. Patrice, what do you think? Patrice, what do you think? He got me. He wanted me. He wanted me.
He was going.
And then he thought
he was going. He was fucking taking a Nazi.
Totally taking the Nazi. He looked like a Nazi. Did you see him? Wait, I'm going to the judges. Nazi or Schwoogie? Nazi? That was so Nazi. That was so Nazi.
I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna pull this out for niggas. Wow.
You better pull this out.
Right.
You better pull this out, man.
All right, hold on.
My money's on it. Cab is making the left onto 57th Street. Here he goes. He is... Oh, boy. Oh, no.
Thanks, man. We don't...
Damn.
No.
We're going to Game 7. Yeah, it's going right to Game 7. All right, hold on. Don't hit yet. Go! Go! Game on! Go! Nazi versus the Schwoogie. The cab.
As for the National Socialists.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for picking up a Nazi before an African American. Did you realize that, sir?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? You didn't see him with the gold chains and everything?
Gold chain or silver chain.
Did you notice I'm wearing a German Nazi war helmet and I gave you the Nazi salute as a hail?
Did you see me first?
Oh, and there he goes.
Did you see me first?
Ask him. I need a motherfucking can. The Nazis win.
Yeah. Okay, I mean that's pretty funny. Okay, but let's get a little bit of highbrow content here before we go back to the humor.
At the University of Austin, at Texas University, around the heterodox figures which have yet to release any like continuous courses, and there's currently a thing called the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, the Welcome Aboard the Ark, which Jordan Peterson and various other figures are promoting as an alternative.
Yeah, the white guy was in the Nazi helmet, the German war helmet, and he was also doing a Roman salute when he was hailing a cab.
To the World Economic Forum and the UN, and we'll see how well that pans out. So yeah, it's hard to over-exaggerate how strong anti-establishment sentiment is.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a difficult thing to prove because they are pretty upfront about their content.
So Anthony Cumia is not knee-jerk, against the establishment. He recognized that the establishment, frequently produce far better pilots than the affirmative action, radical crowd. So Anthony Cumia, in many ways, much wiser, sounder person than traditional right-wing pundits.
For the corrupt, totally compromised institutions, and they're also pretty upfront about the alternatives they're providing.
Well, so I'm competing with Julie Hartman right now. She's doing a show, The Corruption of the Biden Family. She's only got 4 watching, and I am just flooded. I got 11 on YouTube, got about 10 on Rumble, so probably got about 25 viewers right now. I'm like 25-4 over Julie Hartman. Blessings to me.
And they often speak explicitly about wanting to connect directly with whatever young men or whatever to sort of educate them, in the real science or the real knowledge directly. I think, Chris, though, like for me, like a theoretically
first dog they got for publicity
establishment posturing positioning is that it's almost a logical necessity. Like if you want to be a guru in the modern world, you can't just be like a normal public intellectual, a normal historian, a normal philosopher, a normal scientist, because you will be one of thousands, and you will be saying things that are kind of boring to most people. Like in order to be an influencer, to attract attention online, you need to take the contrarian stance. And we've seen in modern social media how well that works in terms of building a following.
Yeah. So the third characteristic, and I think this is one of the most central features that we've identified, because we have 10 features, and we haven't weighted them in the kind of scoring that we do, but it is the case that there are some features which I think are more core, and this one is, I think, at the core, and that is self-aggrandizement and narcissism. This is kind of self-explanatory, but basically...
Okay, so when I read Anthony Cumia's autobiography, just very honest, no self-aggrandizement.
I want to go play some of The View, if we could.
Oh, yes, I know what it is.
The View talks about the Golden Globes and the diversity that need be part of the Golden Globe. So they can't just talk about the Golden Globes for entertainment value. There has to be a deeper meaning. And of course, it always has to come back to some slavery or oppression or shit. It's so fucking disgusting. Play this cunt.
After being taken off the air amid charges of severe lack of diversity, the Golden Globes returned to primetime last night with a lot to prove, and it wasn't lost on host Gerard Carmichael. No. Take a look.
I'm here because I'm black.
Yeah.
1 minute, you're making mint tea at home. The next, you're invited to be the black face of an embattled white organization.
Just clap.
Funny.
Nailed it.
Funny. Did you see the show?
No. I saw clips.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's funny, but he's also telling the truth.
Yeah. Which is why it's funny.
Which is why it worked for that audience. That audience that had been coming year after year while there was no diversity. Now they're there for diversity. I mean, maybe they should have spoken up a little sooner.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Whoopi, why was there no diversity with the foreign press? Like I understand our history here in the United States and our history of 400 years of bondage and slavery and.
But what about Europe, who never had slavery or oppression? Or she's literally saying she if you didn't catch that, people, she's saying, Whoopi, why hasn't there been diversity with the foreign press? Because that's what the Golden Globes are. It's like the foreign press.
It's just France, isn't it?
Whatever the fuck it is. And she can't fathom. She goes, now I understand fucking shitty America with their history and years of oppression and that. But why the foreign press, who have always been so wonderful to the dark continent, and they have no clue. They honestly believe America is the be-all, end-all of horrible treatment of black people.
She also, I honestly believe that she thinks foreign, she thinks foreigner. So she thinks it's like the United Nations.
Oh, my God.
And there's like an African guy,
right.
a Peruvian guy.
Well, how could there be oppression?
Yeah, they are diverse. They're foreigners.
Right, foreigners.
It's like 80 rich French 80-year-olds.
I think she thought they meant Foreigner, the band that wrote Double Vision.
Turn me loose.
It's got to be. That's why.
Can I say something else?
Please.
I looked into this back when what's her name, Jada Pinkett Smith, said Oscars so white.
My wife's name out your mouth.
We looked it up, and about 14% of the Oscars go to blacks.
Yeah.
Black directors, black actors.
That's
so it's
right in
been
line with the
perfectly diverse forever.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Gone with the Wind was a little racist back then.
Okay.
But even then, what's his name? Fucking the main guy in Gone with the Wind, Humphrey Bogart or whoever it is.
No, that Red Butler.
Red Butler demanded that the Jamaican whatever maid get to sit at his table.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
back in black and white days, we were fighting for equality. But anyway, I think the problem with these dumb cunts is they see all these commercials and they're like, blacks are like 50% of the population.
Yeah, they get fucking brainwashed by what the media and Madison Avenue are shoving down people's throats. And they go, well, if there's so many black people, why are they only 14% of the winners of the... Well, because they're 14% of the population.
They think 14% is not
They
representative.
don't know percentages, too.
Yes.
They probably think 14% is half.
If 1 in 10 people that win your thing are black, that's perfectly reasonable for America.
Works, yeah, but
Sorry.
it can't be. It can't be. The host has to be black. Everyone that wins has to be
It's
black.
got to be 60 to 70% black.
It's crazy. This Golden Globes Awards was unbelievably black. The winners, the fucking nominees.
You recognize who the fuck was
I
that guy who was kind of funny?
I don't know.
Jordan Christensen with the
Don't know.
stand-up comic from Baltimore.
They had the Cecil B. DeMille Award, and that was Eddie Murphy won that.
Yes,
for his work in the Clumps. Fantastic.
Where
work.
he had the range to play
Yeah,
a fat
yeah.
person and a skinny person,
Right,
an old
right.
person and a lady.
In that Pluto whatever movie.
Norbit,
maybe.
yeah.
Norbit.
Where he's a nagging wife and the cucked boyfriend.
Yes, starring Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy.
They lampoon that so well in Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah,
Where Jack Black plays like the farts.
Yeah.
And they're always farting and being like, whoopsie.
So here, the rest of her little speech. Yeah.
Structural inequities. But this was before in film, right? Or a foreign body picking it. Why do you think there was no black representation? I don't know. I don't know.
Why don't you be honest?
You know,
Anything.
it's the world that we live in. And,
Be honest and
now
say,
they
because
seem to
America
have, you
isn't
know,
the
woken up
shithole that you say it is.
rectified it, and it's happened.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is as if people should be woke. They're not. That's why they have to get woke.
But people like in other countries look different. Like I went to Ghana. There's
What?
I
I went to Ghana. I was right. She thinks foreign press is foreigner
It's
press.
foreigner press. It's foreign people. And by the way, she goes, they look different. Not to the people that are there, you dummy. She is being so elitist. She goes, I went to every place I went. They look different. Wouldn't they want people that look different? They don't look different. I went to Japan. They all look different. Every single person in Japan looks different.
Yeah, Anthony Cumia is a pretty happy guy. I mean, credit to him.
When you're there,
In
does it
rehab.
matter who you are? Like, is it a little nicer? Do you get like all-star treatment? Or
They were pretty good. They were pretty fucking cool to me. I got to be honest. A few of them knew who I was. Everybody, all the other inmates there knew who I was. So that was cool. But you still got to do all your shit. It was a top end place. I mean, pool right by the beach in West Palm. Really nice facility. And then you had to go to some classes and group therapy, which was really amazing. I'm not an emotion guy. Like I don't sit there and like seeing emotion play out. And there was literally grown men in their 40s weeping, just weeping in a group atmosphere. And I wanted to make an imprint like Bugs Bunny when he would go through a wall, like my body just leaving the room. I wanted out of there.
That's awkward.
Tough, yeah.
So
was there anybody there who you were like looking at like, fuck, that guy is a dude who needs to be here probably the rest of his life? Like anyone who was like, I know with alcohol at least you start shaking and you can go into like hallucinating and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like
It
there
was-
had to be a couple.
Dude, everyone else but me that was there fit that criteria. Everyone else. There was some poor old guy who was like 69, 70 years old. And the first day there, they put him in art therapy. They come up with these therapies that are like, what? It's, again, adults. These are adults sitting in a room with construction paper with some guy saying, okay, now draw this. And, draw. I'm like, what the fuck? So he had the shakes so bad. Me and this girl that were there were looking. We're like, what's he drawing? I think it's a hacksaw blade.
Okay, so remember, what's the business model for rehab? Right, to make some improvement to your life, but not to cure you. Because if they cure you, if you make a genuine psychic change, there's no more business. So they just want to help you a little bit, but the business model is all about you coming back and coming back and coming back. That's how they make their money. All right, they don't make money if you go to 12-step programs. Nobody makes money from 12-step programs, but rehab, right, ton of money to be made from rehab. But you don't get well in rehab. Right? You only get well when you have a fundamental psychic change, which will come about if you work the 12 steps seriously and you don't have to pay any money to do that.
I think it's an EKG. Every single, he couldn't draw a straight line. I felt bad for the guy.
Let's say.
But yeah. Mostly I felt bad for the people that were there the first few days. And then I was just like, all right, whatever. I'm here for 28 days. Let me just deal with it.
what was the point of the 5-day pre-therapy? Like, I don't think I understand how this works.
Oh my God. This is something called detox. To detoxify, they don't want to send people that are still all totally fucked up right into the rehab facility. So you take 5 days and they put you in a detox facility, and everybody there is coming off of something. So here's what I did. Here's my I've never been in anything like this situation thing. It was like a Wednesday. I went out to dinner with a girl, and we split a bottle of wine. Then I had nothing to drink. My flight was on Friday. So Thursday, I decided I was going to stay at home and watch Clean and Sober and 28 Days with Sandra Bullock. I was going to watch rehab movies just to get a little, glimpse.
Yeah, so Sandra Bullock would teach you what to expect.
So then they send me, I go, again, Friday comes along. I haven't had a drink since Wednesday. So I go and get to the rehab, and they give you a breathalyzer, and it's 0-0. So they're like, oh, well, you got to take some Xanax so you don't have a seizure from stopping drinking. I'm like, I really don't drink that much. I haven't. I think I'm okay here. They go, no, it's the rules. You have to have it. I'm like, all right. So I took it. 20 minutes later, I'm on the couch like, I'm all kinds of fucked up. So I go in, stone cold sober. Within 20 minutes of getting to rehab, I'm annihilated, fucked up on Xanax. It was amazing to me. And every time that door opened up for med time, though, I was right there.
Now you've got a serious Xanax problem. Were you going up there lying like I'm feeling a little seizure-y?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So how do you pass the time for 28 days? I mean, did they give you like Call of Duty therapy? You just get to play all the time, or like what's up?
Yeah, no, it sucked. I only had my phone like for 2 hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They give you your phone, and I started just not even missing it. Like whatever, I'd get my phone, check some shit, and it wasn't like I sat on Twitter for 8 hours. So it kind of worked out well. There was a pool there, which was great. Some really cool, fun people. I guess
fun.
Yeah, once
They
they're
were the
sober,
best
they're
parties.
such assholes as the stories they told in group. I mean, they would tell stories like I never knew what a handle was, and they go, yeah, I was going through a handle a day, and I'm like, what is that? It's those bottles with the handle on it, like a jug, a gallon of Captain Morgan or a gallon of vodka, and I'm like, yeah, I had those at parties at my house when a fuckload of people are coming over, but they were drinking like the whole thing alone, and some of these people are telling these stories. I'm just like, I don't have one of these. I don't have one of these.
It would have been so funny to tell like your really lame story. You're like, well, one night, and I hate to even say this, like, I must have drank 8-9 beers, and I'm gonna tell you, when I woke up the next day, the headache.
Yeah.
I had a headache.
I couldn't even eat until noon.
Right.
Yeah, I went to work.
You won't believe this. I was playing pool, missed easy shots.
Yeah, missed easy shots. Rob, that's when I knew I had a problem.
Did you immediately feel like, the best person in class when you walked in and you see everybody shaking with their drawing and their pencils, and you're like, oh, look at this guy. Oh, you need me to hold your saucer of tea for you? Here's your steady hand over here. Like,
they elected me community president, so I had to be there for like the meetings. I handed out the work details and stuff. And
no, they didn't. Did they really?
I can't tell if this is true or not.
Dude, I swear, it was. I was like the president. And then I had to give out like the reading assignments, like because people would read aloud from the big AA book during some of the morning meetings. So I did that. I had to hand that out. So yeah, I was El Presidente. I guess it was because I really wasn't all that fucked up when I went in there.
Yeah, so you immediately, that's a handle a day. Like if someone told you, I'll give you $10,000 a day for every day that you can drink a whole handle by yourself, how many days do you think you could even do?
First of all, I would probably die before that.
So, yeah.
And you're passing out. You're not. I don't know how he did it. And then he said he broke one on the bathroom floor and got on the floor and started sucking it up.
As you do. Yeah.
I don't know. I grabbed the wrong beer off the table.
And I swallowed it anyway.
When
the whole thing, and I realized I was drinking a Coors.
When I was a child and not strong enough to pour a whole gallon of milk, that's how I cleaned the counter. I had a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, and then I got out, and then I came back to work, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so tan." And
but I like the other stuff. Like I have this notion, like even if you didn't have a heavy alcohol addiction, did it cure your other addictions, like Reddit or Twitter or like I don't know something else? Like talk
crazy
to me.
frauds.
Like, dude, if that happened to me, we could maybe kick my Reddit habit, right? Even though
you know what, I did take in what was available and what might have helped with something. There's addictive personality, I know I have that. And the fact that I was on Twitter 8 hours arguing with nobody about nothing. Like
with some egg.
Get a handle on
Screaming at the wall. Were there any attractive women in rehab?
A couple, yeah, there was. But having sex in rehab is right below drinking. It's right below drinking they will just throw you the fuck out of there.
Kyle, really? Those women tended to be over 21. We weren't interested.
Yeah, they were I call them old broads. No, there were a couple of goers there, a couple of girls that were pretty fucking kind of cute and wanted to do stuff.
Yeah, I bet for a fifth they'd have done anything.
Yeah, you just bring a little Coke with you. And
but having sex is like a big offense. I don't really get why.
Huge. Like they really made sure nothing was going on. One girl, she decided she was gonna like I was in the pool like this, and she swam up like upside down backwards, up like that. And just started going this to
the
me.
old scissor stroke we did in college.
I'm like we're in fucking rehab. What are you doing? And she's like, well, no one ever pushed me off of them before. What the fuck? I'm like, it's rehab. They go, believe me, any other place. Great, but no, we can't do that. And then like they found out about that and talked to me. They were like, we heard there was an incident at the pool, And so I was like, look, we talk, everything's cool. No fucking report is necessary.
Don't you hate it when they refer to something you did as an incident?
An incident, yes.
Yeah, you're like, shit, it wasn't really an incident. Let me explain how this all went down. Incident always has this negative connotation where, like, you were up to no good, making dirty plans, like you had a scheme. Incident.
Well, there were some girls that would hang out on the couch in the room where there was the TV and everything, the community room, and there were blankets in there. So a guy and a girl would put a blanket over them and just diddle each other and fucking, you know, play with each other and shit. So that became something. You couldn't sit close to another person.
In Florida, you say?
Yeah.
Typically, I think of that as the airplane move.
Yep. Yeah. There were a lot of, you know, there's another girl that was there that wound up fucking one of the guys that were there. With a girl keeping lookout. It was, you know, people do what they want if they want to.
I can't imagine being in that situation. I really like my freedom. I really like the ability to be like, you know what, fuck all this. I'm going out and just get in my car and go.
That's what I do, and it freaked me out, especially at first. I'm like, I really don't. And not to mention, I had a fucking roommate. So I wasn't even in the room alone. I've never had like a roommate in the same fucking room. And, you know, I had to do some little chores, you know, not the toilet cleaning stuff, but make sure your bed's made and things like that. I'm like, I haven't made my bed in decades. And it's like, oh, I forgot. Oh.
Was there security? Like, technically, if you wanted to just walk out the front door, would you get there? Or are there like negative blocks?
You could leave, but, you know, you'd be AMA, against medical advice, they call it. And, you know, and it's just counterproductive, especially to what I was doing.
But so it's not like a prison where you would have a hard time
Sometimes
leaving.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it is. This one, like they had some rules, like no food in the rooms whatsoever. You got to keep it in the kitchen and write your name on it and hope no one stole your shit. But people stole people's shit all the time. So I had things that I just wanted to kind of at night, you know, get up, go into my drawer and grab like fucking beef jerky or some shit like that. So I kept a lot of stuff in my drawers. And the guy would say, oh, we're going to be looking at rooms today. Make sure you don't have any food in there and make sure everything's clean. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I took the food out of my drawers. I put it in my laundry basket and covered it with laundry and then took some like underwear and put it on top to see if like hopefully he wouldn't go through it. And he didn't. So, you know, that was the trick that worked. Like, I thought he was going to take a stick and start like
he comes in up against the wall.
Yeah. They're tossing the cells. They're tossing the cells. Guy's mopping. I'm making fucking booze in the toilet.
Little kites tossing them through the other doors.
What says you, fuzzy britches? He throws a fucking chess piece that goes through the wall.
Was it
Great
all
movie.
drugs? Like not alcohol, other drugs? Or were there like also fat people there who like were having trouble with eating? Or like, I just wonder what kind of addictions were they all?
Yeah, I think the peripheral stuff like being fat or having a OCD, that kind of was in there, but not as that. It was like a fat person with a drug problem.
So they're like concurrent clapping and tapping from the adjacent building, the OCD.
Yeah. We would.
You look over at night, the lights are just on, off, on, off. On.
I see the locks like just damn it, lights out, I said. No, I need to do it 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like just...
Yeah, it's just fucking going crazy, trying to make sure the doors lined up right, the doors opening. Just some lunatic. The big day was when we went to we got to go to Walmart on Saturday. That was your big party right there. They would load us into these white vans that they affectionately called the druggy buggies.
I like it.
Yeah. I had to get into something called the druggy buggy, which I felt just great about. And then we go to Walmart, and they kind of keep an eye on you as to what you were buying. But even if they weren't, at the end, when you got everything, you had to hand your receipt over to the guy to make sure you weren't buying anything you weren't supposed to be buying. And some people would like ring up one thing, like a bottle of NyQuil, and stash it and get the receipt for that, and then ring up all the rest of their stuff, and then have NyQuil to drink.
Yeah.
Man, you gotta be desperate to be sneaking NyQuil.
Will.
Yeah, are you just really congested?
Oh, I know. That's
not after this.
That's how they kind of, because as I was talking with other people, they started saying like, "Are you really here for drinking or anything? Like, you don't really seem." I was like, "Yeah, well." And then we were talking about NyQuil, and I said, "Oh yeah, I love that stuff. It just fucks me up. I fall right to sleep." And they go, "Oh, see, so you're not fucking Mr. Squeaky Clean." I was like, "No, when I'm sick, I would take fucking NyQuil. I have some at home now. I'm not compelled to fucking chug it down. I'd handle it."
Like, you have NyQuil?
Yeah.
Like, you holding out on us?
Yeah.
Right, you got to understand the incentives. The whole incentives for rehab, the whole business model is based on getting people to come back again and again and again and again and again. That's how you make your money. If you cure people, right? If you put them on a sustainable path to recovery, they're not going to come back. You're not going to make any money. You're going to make a lot more money. You can hook them in, give them a modest amount of recovery, but don't cure them, right? You want to get cured, join a 12-step program and work at fair dinkum.
They were talking about hiding like bottles. Their wives were there with mothers that have kids and husbands that they just like booze was more important than their family. And they were going to, they'd be crying after a week going, "I want to see my kids and my husband." You're like, what the fuck are you even doing here? I understand it's an addiction and that's the whole thing. It's very bad and pulls you right in. But my God, man, it's not like you're just a shock jock from the radio that ran into
the alcohol thing is serious stuff. Like, that's a disease, and it's one of those diseases that actually has some effect. You get cirrhosis of the liver. There's all kinds of things that it'll kill you literally, or it can ruin your brain. It can just make you
Yeah, the goal of rehab is to build your health insurance, and thanks to Obamacare, every single type of health insurance has to have ability to pay at least $2,000 a day for you to go to rehab, right? Even the least expensive form of health insurance has that $2,000 a day for rehab.
A hollowed out version of your former self after long-term use. But I kind of want to go there to make fun of the people who are there for like laughable things, like the OCD or the fat people, because I'm
Fat
into that.
people,
Yeah, I would love to just be able to like go to fat people rehab to lose like 8 pounds or something. Like, yeah, it's swimsuit season's coming up.
If people are going there, right, in all likelihood, their life is at risk. So on the one hand, I understand from a nihilistic perspective, it's all very funny. But for people with disabling addictions, whether it's underearning, overspending, sex, porn, drugs, alcohol, all right, it puts your life at risk, because if for even 5 seconds, 2 seconds, when you're driving a car, you start to lose your hold on life, and you start to think, wouldn't it be easier if I just got into a mild to moderate accident right now so I can just rest for a week or two, right? If you just have that type of thinking for 1 second, right, you can very easily get into a car accident that kills you. And you see that in the British TV show Fleabag, which is on Amazon Prime, where this girl just wants to get back together with her ex-boyfriend. So she deliberately walks out into traffic, hoping that she'll just get hit a little bit, have to go to the hospital, then her ex-boyfriend will come visit her, but instead she gets killed. So you lose your dedication to life for even 1 second. And it's a lot easier to do when you got some destructive habit, compulsion, pattern in your life. You lose your hold on life for 1 second, right? You're much more vulnerable to putting yourself in a position where you end it all, right? Eat your vegetables. A little bit more here on the components of the secular guru from the podcast Decoding the Gurus.
Exhibiting a sense of grandiosity and inflated idea of your own self-importance, touting your unique perspective and how revolutionary it is, responding to any, mostly preferring probably positive attention, but any attention really will do to, provide some psychological stroke. And one indicator of this is that you can see the guru figures who are often hugely successful people. They've got massive audiences, they've best-selling books, they're sought out to commentate on various issues, well, at least the more successful versions of them, but yet they're often stating how many people watch their talks, how many downloads things get, and referencing it in a way which suggests there's like a pathological attention to that detail. And basically it reflects that they are very much enamored with their own ideas, very bad at assessing them objectively, and often also believing that they were gifted with special insight from an early age, which was often misdiagnosed as learning disabilities. So they have a special way of seeing the world, and they are special people.
Yeah,
you're muted.
And
oh, you're not anymore.
Yeah, and we don't have time to get into the study of manipulative narcissism is really well established, and it's really well understood all the different behaviors that are red flags in this. But just to note a couple, like one of them is being like extremely sensitive to praise and criticism, and also being someone who tries to manipulate others by doling out selective praise and criticism. Another aspect of people,
right? The more sensitive you are to praise and to criticism, all right, the more narcissistic you are. This is situational. In some situations, you're going to be much more sensitive to praise or criticism, but it indicates you have a problem the more sensitive you are to praise and to criticism.
With the narcissistic personality issues, is that just tremendous thin skin, that extreme reactivity. So, we tend to see these characteristics in the people we cover. The final thing I'll say, Chris, is that, again, it's theoretically quite satisfying that narcissism does crop up so often in these figures, because you almost have to have an overblown sense of self-confidence in order to inhabit this role, like to put on a toga or a white sheet and stand up on top of the mountain.
Well, I expect that Anthony Cumia has an oversized level of self-confidence, but he doesn't have an inflated sense of his own intellectual capabilities, right? From reading his book and listening to his clips, seems very much far more in reality than most syndicated right-wing talk show hosts and pundits.
And to broadcast to everyone that you've heard the word of God and it is this, requires the kind of self-belief that most typical people don't generally have. So it is a feature that we see pretty reliably in our more toxic gurus.
So you brought up there, Matt, this sense that you are an aggrieved person, right, who's constantly being persecuted and attacked by others, and that leads neatly to another characteristic that we identify: grievance mongering. So this can sometimes be indicated by that all of the person's enemies because they constantly mention them. They regard the media, institutions, politicians, so on, all to be kind of targeted against them and to unfairly represent them. I think another aspect of this is really common amongst the gurus is that their critics are all arguing in bad faith. They're all offering low quality criticism of their ideas, and they are really heroic, see themselves as heroic figures fighting back against this kind of onslaught of bad faith criticism and relentless attacks from the media, who are trying to shut them down for all the reasons that we just talked about. And this conveniently gives an explanation for why they may lack mainstream success. So it may be the case that they are hugely successful like Jordan Peterson, but even if they aren't, there's a ready-made narrative for why their success is less than it could be, because when combined with narcissism, it will never be enough.
Yeah, it's striking, isn't it, the degree to which some of our gurus seem to be obsessed with the number of likes and retweets that they're getting on social media, and they seem to be absolutely certain that some nefarious forces out there are throttling them or suppressing them and preventing the word from getting out. On Twitter, they looked to Elon Musk for a long time, and when Elon Musk gets in, then I'll be free of these suppressive forces. And but of course that the psychological disorder doesn't go away just when Elon Musk buys Twitter.
I have a great example of that, because I don't know if you've seen, but Cat Turd 2 is very upset that he has not been part of the monetization payouts, and he's now kind of malingering to his audience about how all those people getting payouts, it's just because they're lickspittles of Elon, but he wouldn't do that. So, but he has been doing that for months and months. So it's just that it's always a kind of fragile truce amongst the gurus whenever they're fawning after someone, right? And it can very quickly disintegrate.
And look, this is we're going to talk about conspiracism and cultish dynamics, but this narrative of grievance is something that has a lot of overlap with those features of the Barometer too. Cults notoriously have a sense of grievance with the broader society. They very quickly tend to get the idea that everyone's out to get them, and it's us versus them, and that us versus them mentality, fosters those toxic in-group, out-group dynamics, as well as that puts, when it's personalized in the form of a guru, it obviously puts them in a heroic role, someone who's standing up to all of these, forces. And in terms of the conspiracy theories, again, we see, strong themes of grievance there at the the authorities, the them that are out there that are hiding the truth and doing these terrible things to us. So it's
okay. Let's leave it there for tonight. Talk to you